Synonymous with class and charm, Angie Dickinson's grace and poise captivated audiences for decades. She lent her stunning looks and stellar craft to everything from femme fatales to complicated characters, from studios to independents. She's done it all. Truly, she has an impressive range. No wonder moviegoers couldn't take their eyes off her. So, let's honor her illustrious career with a stroll down memory lane as we count down the top 10 Angie Dickinson movies of all time.
I better go before I make a fool of myself. I don't know why I should go, though, because we're all fools. We ought to get along very well together, all of us.
Number 10. Young Billy Young.
All along, deep down, she's nothing but a $2 a night.
By 1969, Angie Dickinson was already well established as a major name in Hollywood, particularly when it came to westerns. So that's why it should come as no surprise she was cast in Young Billy Young then, the story of a deputy marshal searching for his son's killer who becomes something of a father figure to a young man on the lam. As for Dickinson, she portrays the role of Lily Benoit, the love interest to the deputy marshal played by Robert Mitchum. And while this role doesn't give her a huge amount to work with, she's able to create a spellbinding performance that threatens to steal the show anyway. And that's pretty impressive, considering she doesn't enter the film until the 43-minute mark. But the real star remains Mitchum, someone so devoted to what he was doing here that he even insisted on singing the theme song himself after being inspired to do so by Dean Martin.
You want to see the rest of the show, boys? Come on inside. Curtain's going up in 5 minutes, and tell them Lily sent you.
Number 9. Big Bad Mama.
You got the money?
Yes, it's right here.
You sure nobody followed you here?
No, ma'am.
Leave it there and get it.
1974's Big Bad Mama sees Angie Dickinson move in a different direction with her career, as here, she plays Wilma McClatchy, a single mother whose circumstances have forced her to turn to a life of crime in order to get by. And it's not just her who has to go to dark places either. No, her 2 daughters, played by Robbie Lee and Susan Sinnett, also join her on this journey. Needless to say then, over the course of the 83-minute movie which follows, lots of hijinks ensue, and that includes appearances from the likes of Tom Skerritt, William Shatner, and Dick Miller as Dickinson continues going from state to state, all while continually evading the authorities. And given she was the star of the show here, the North Dakota native felt the need to lead by example, which was exactly why she performed all of her own stunts during scenes where she was asked to fire a Thompson submachine gun.
Stop it. We're all a family, aren't we? The only problem is we want Polly's baby born with a proper name.
Well, then have her marry Pieface then.
Number 8. Sam Whiskey.
There's $250,000 in gold bars sunk on the bottom of the Platte River in the steamboat Bonnie Blue. My husband stole it.
While it may not have been a big hit at the time, subsequent critical reappraisal has seen history be a lot kinder to 1969's Western comedy film, Sam Whiskey. And the reason it's more appreciated now is because modern viewers have been able to understand the style of light comedy the flick is going for. So what's the story here? Well, it tells the tale of a widow who hires an ex-gambler to help her retrieve some gold bars her husband had stolen and then return them to the federal mint. And with this widow being played by Angie Dickinson and the ex-gambler being played by Burt Reynolds, it should surprise no one that what follows is laugh out loud. So much did Reynolds enjoy filming this one, in fact, he'd keep a photo of himself and his co-star hung up in his home afterwards. And below the photo was a caption which simply read, "An actor's life is pure hell?"
Guys, what the hell are you gonna
Sam,
come up with
if
next?
you just let me
No,
show you the plans.
no!
I've got the blueprints. Sam, I know you can figure out a way. You promised.
Number 7. The Last Challenge.
Stop it! Give me that bottle. I swear everybody's gone crazy around here.
1967's The Last Challenge saw Angie Dickinson return to the Western genre she was always so great in by playing the role of Lisa Denton, a brothel owner who's madly in love with the film's lead, Marshal Dan Blaine. As for the rest of the plot, well, that sees a deadly gunslinger arrive in town looking for a shootout with the legendary Marshal. And while it's the interplay between these two duelists which drives most of the interest in this one, in many ways, it's Dickinson's performance which emotionally anchors the proceedings as she's there to ensure her lover maintains his humanity. But then, what else would you expect from someone with as much emotional range as she has? Sadly though, this would also be a film of lasts, as it was not only the final movie from character actor Frank McGrath before his death, but it would also be the last movie ever directed by Richard Thorpe.
Hey, you just keep that to yourself, huh? Because I'm going fishing.
If you aren't the rudest man I ever saw. And the nicest.
Number 6. Pretty Maids All in a Row.
That certainly is a problem.
And the solution is a mature woman's.
You want me to be his friend?
Part black comedy, part sex comedy, and part murder mystery, Pretty Maids All in a Row certainly has a lot to offer to audiences when it was released in the spring of 1971. And with the all-star cast, which included Rock Hudson, Telly Savalas, and of course, Angie Dickinson helping to drive the plot forward, fans were engaged from start to finish. So what was the plot about? Well, it involved a California State Police captain's attempts to investigate a string of murders carried out on teenage girls studying at Oceanfront High School. As for Dickinson's role in all of this, she plays a substitute teacher named Betty Smith, who may or may not be involved with the killings. One interesting trivia note about this one, though, has nothing to do with what happens on screen. Rather, it's about the behind the scenes, as the script was the only one written for feature film credited to Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry.
Yes, tonight, can you? I thought you might want to expand your notes on Milton into a term paper. See you later then, Ponce.
At number 5, we have Captain Newman, M.D.
We cure them, make them strong, so they can go out and get killed.
While many movies in Angie Dickinson's filmography could be described as star-studded, few have more heavyweight performances in them than 1963's Captain Newman, M.D. And that's because, alongside the Hollywood legend, the film also includes appearances from Gregory Peck, Tony Curtis, Bobby Darin, and Robert Duvall. As to what they all do on screen together, they're telling the story of a doctor during World War II who's posted at a neuropsychiatric ward at an Army Air Corps hospital in Arizona. And while there, he has to deal with a variety of different patients. That said, the doctor's main focus soon shifts from his patients to trying to win the affections of First Lieutenant Francie Coram, a nurse played by Dickinson herself. Do they end up together? You'll have to watch it to find out. But one thing you won't be able to watch is the spin-off TV show of the same name developed in August of 1972, as unfortunately, this never got beyond the pilot stage before being cancelled.
Just what makes you think I'd join that big funny farm of yours? And joining your crowd is like taking the veil, not for me, friend.
Number 4. The Killers.
Jack finally ran him down where he was working, and then he hired you.
Thank you, lady. It doesn't bother me anymore.
In 1964's The Killers, Angie Dickinson gets the honor of bringing to life the words of legendary novelist Ernest Hemingway, and that's because this is an adaptation of one of his short stories of the same name written in 1927. As to the story it tells, well, that's a tale of two contract killers trying to find out who hired them to kill their latest victim after the circumstances surrounding it caused them to grow suspicious. During their journey of discovery, then, they eventually come into contact with Sheila Farr, the two-timing girlfriend of the man they just assassinated, who's played by Dickinson, and she's able to give them some information which helps them to uncover the whole thing. Interestingly, though, despite the cast here also included big names such as Lee Marvin and John Cassavetes, the thing it's most notable for now is being the final film made by future U.S. President Ronald Reagan before he retired and entered the world of politics.
There'll be just the two of you in the getaway car.
That's right, just the two of us.
And more than $1 million. Promise me you won't kill him.
Number 3. Dressed to Kill.
My mother's driving me crazy as usual. She's hinting around about surprising me for my birthday.
Despite starting her acting career way back in the 1950s, Angie Dickinson was still going strong enough by the beginning of the 80s that she was personally sought out by Brian De Palma to play the key role of Kate Miller in Dressed to Kill. Sure, she may not get a huge amount of screen time here, as it's her character's death which kickstarts the overall plot, but she makes every second she's on screen count in this tale of a killer trying to hunt down a high-class call girl who witnessed the murder. But even if her screen time is relatively brief, she's still got a great behind-the-scenes story out of the whole thing, and that's because while filming a scene where she gets seduced in the back of a New York taxicab, onlookers shouted "Right on, policewoman" at her, a reference to her previous television role as the title character on 1974's Policewoman.
Do you find me attractive?
Of course.
Would you want to sleep with me?
Yes.
Then why don't you?
Number 2. Rio Bravo.
This is all I can do for you?
I thought you said I could think about it.
In case you make up your mind, I left my door open. In a good night's sleep.
In the pantheon of great Western movies, 1959's Rio Bravo has to rank right up there at the top, alongside other masterpieces such as The Searchers and Once Upon a Time in the West. And that's because this Howard Hawks classic expertly tells the story of a small-town sheriff who enlists the help of a disabled man, a drunk, and a young gunfighter in order to hold the brother of a local rancher in jail until a U.S. Marshal can arrive. And what role does Angie Dickinson play in this one? She plays Feathers, the widow of a cheating gambler, and a wanted young woman herself who ultimately falls for our lead, as played by John Wayne. That said, there was almost an even bigger star that's featured here, as at one point Howard Hawks wanted Elvis Presley to play the crucial role of Colorado Ryan, But when Colonel Tom Parker asked for too much money for his client, the director was forced to look elsewhere instead.
So you're gonna have to prove I've got them. And the only way I know you can do that is to search me.
Search you?
That's right. Isn't that what a sheriff usually does to a prisoner?
Our number one pick is Point Blank.
Men everywhere. You're gonna have a lot of trouble getting in. But you'll never get out.
There are plenty of potential options for the choice of the number one movie featuring Angie Dickinson, but for our money, the best of all is 1967's Point Blank. And the reason for that is it's a near-perfect crime drama as it tells an engrossing story of betrayal, theft, and revenge from start to finish. More specifically, it tells the story of Lee Marvin's Walker, a man who's been double-crossed and left for dead by his friends after they all commit a robbery together. So, looking to get revenge on the people who betrayed him then, he goes on an odyssey in order to track them down. Of course, along the way, he comes back into contact with Chris, his sister-in-law, as played by Angie Dickinson, and she helps him to reach his end goal. But that's not the most interesting part of this film. No, the most interesting part is the trivia note of it being the first movie to ever be shot inside the infamous Alcatraz prison after it was decommissioned in 1963.
Forget it.
You forget it!
And there we have it, the top 10 Angie Dickinson movies of all time. No doubt you have your own list, so be sure to let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and get alerted of our next video. We'll hope to see you soon.